Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Do you really quickly want to introduce yourself in your own words? Who are you and what do you do?
Yeah. Hi, I am Val.
Hmm.
I I do multiple things, but the reason why we're here is
Hmm.
because I created a page dedicated to journey and growth and healing
Hmm.
and just all about like self-love. So that's
Okay, that's a big deal. And right before I hit record, I think we were kind of going down that path, so that's why I hit pause real quick to
yeah.
to record this. You're all you're all about growth and helping people right now, right? As you know, I think you've kind of hit a good point again before the recording, is that we're all in a place of just kind of searching and asking ourselves questions and what we want
Yeah.
and what we want to do. Because we work together, we're coworkers, but at the same time, I consider you a friend. What what's happened? What shifted for you? What made you want to do this?
I know. I was just even like thinking back as I was like getting ready.
Hmm.
I kept thinking, oh my gosh, like Oscar and I have had so many conversations
Hmm.
at work and aside from work
Yeah.
about like where we're going. And I feel
Right.
like
About life.
you have
Hmm.
also been like such a huge part of this development.
Hmm.
But quarantine like hit, and now I'm coming on here and I'm like, hi
Yeah.
Oscar, I'm a brand new person. It feels like, how's it going?
Yeah.
Um, but I think for the most part, just kind of like you said, I started really asking myself like so many different questions,
Hmm.
and every answer led to like a more clear part of who I am.
Okay.
And and then I thought, what what do I do with this? Like what is it
Okay.
just for me? Like am I yes, like I love this healing, but what do I do with like all of this information, all of these lessons, all of this growth?
Yeah.
And I've talked about it like a little bit, and I've
Sure.
always joked, and you know more than most that I
Uh-huh.
am a chatterbox. But I've always said that like my biggest like my the greatest thing I'm best at is talking to people.
Sure.
And I woke up one day and I was like, what if this whole thing has been about talking to people? Like, what if it's that simple?
Hmm.
So I seriously don't even remember making the page. I think I blacked.
Really?
I was granted it was like all nerves, but I was like, okay, like I'm just gonna make it. And I had gotten questions, I had gotten people kind of reaching
Hmm.
out in
Hmm.
different areas of my life, but this one was just like that last little push.
Yeah.
And here I am talking to people about what makes me me and what is going to continue to grow me into that like endpoint.
Right, right. So what sort of growth were you going through? Like what, for you on a personal level, like, was it all of us? It's like, it seems like there was kind of like this psychic change for you, right? Like something happened in your head and all of a sudden you blacked out and you did this. All of a sudden the fear went away, right? It disappeared.
Yeah.
Right. I hope it
Yeah.
wasn't, maybe it was alcohol induced. I don't
Oh
know.
my gosh.
Maybe it was one of those blackouts. Just kidding.
Never.
But you never know, right? But you got the inspo and you're just like, I'm doing this
Yeah.
because it came from like a very genuine and authentic place. Um, what led up to it? Like, what were you going through? Can we dive into that? Like, what was going on in your life before that? And we'll also dive into your life. Don't worry.
Heck yeah. Great. I mean,
Yeah.
one of my biggest things is like I'm an open book.
Hmm.
Um, here's just like complete and utter honesty.
Hmm.
And I know that this is like true for most people, but I was forced to
Hmm.
spend time by myself.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Oh gosh. And
I
I
know.
know you know where I'm going. But I had, what was it, March? Like I was in the middle of like another breakup.
Hmm.
I was like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
again, still not okay. We're
Uh-huh.
getting through it and it's day by day. I was
Sure.
going through a breakup. I had to move back home and I'm 25. Like
Yeah.
I just kept thinking to myself as a 25-year-old, like, shouldn't I be more ahead of this? Like, shouldn't have I
Right.
learned? Shouldn't have I, you know, done this or that, and I was just questioning so much of myself, and I
Hmm.
was ending up exhausted and ultimately just destroying myself in
Yeah.
asking these questions. And you're right. So I had a friend that ultimately gave me like the hard push, and she looked at me and she was like, dude, like, have you ever even thought about like spending time on your own?
Hmm.
And I was like, gosh, like, that's when you know, is when you're getting called out by, the people that you love, that,
Right.
hey, do you even know what you want?
So did it feel like you were kind of in a place where you were, I mean, you were
Like,
almost like desperate to try to get something else going?
something, something. It's
Yeah.
almost like I was like, I've tried everything besides that, because that
Hmm.
scares me the most.
Yeah.
I just, the thought of sitting with myself and like figuring it out it was one of my biggest fears. And then
Mm.
I remember there was one car drive, and it was actually after work,
Hmm.
and it was my final moment. And my heartbreak was just like really setting in.
Hmm.
And out of nowhere, I just, out loud, like a weirdo, like crazy,
Okay.
hey, we're like, it's working.
Yeah.
I literally out loud was like, you have to let it hurt.
Right.
I like started crying,
Yeah.
and I just like walked myself through it. And at
Hmm.
the end, I was like, okay, so like that wasn't the worst thing I've ever gone through.
Sure.
And that didn't feel as bad. And so you're right. I'm actually going to go back, and I started welcoming fear into my life,
Uh-huh.
because the
Hmm.
fear that I had of what if was worse than what it actually felt like.
Right. It's almost like you're resisting, right? The fear is just really
Yeah.
resisting diving into change
Oh, yeah.
and resisting the process, right? Because I always say like you can't escape the process, and that's something that's just part of life. So yeah, I mean you have to lean into the hurt, right? And it
Oh,
sucks,
gosh. It
and
sucks.
and it hurts, and it's only if it's like the idea of like if you don't heal the wound, you're gonna keep bleeding
Yeah.
on new people, right?
Yeah. And like, and
So
you think you're different too. Like
mhm,
you're like, no, like I got this. Like I'm good.
yeah,
But that's not the case. Like
sure.
you have to. And I actually read something a while back, and it kind of talked about how like time heals everything.
Hmm.
And it's like, no, it's what you do with that time that allows you to heal. Because I've
Yes.
gone
Yes.
years, and again, being so honest, like I'm a relationship person.
Hmm.
I like the idea of being in love.
Hmm.
But how the heck can I be in love when I'm not even in love with myself?
Sure. Sure.
Right?
Right.
For 5 minutes
Yeah.
of alone time with Val, I would be a wreck. Like I wouldn't know what to do.
Do you go
And
crazy? Like you feel like you need to get something done or do something or not be
yeah,
alone? Okay.
yeah, no, and it was like or even if like one thought would like trickle in and be like, I miss him, or
Hmm.
you're still at home, I'd be like, Oscar, what are you doing today? Do you want to go to lunch?
Hmm. Hmm.
Completely avoiding it.
Right. Right. Because you don't want to think about it. Right.
No,
Yeah.
no. But the problem is I still have to go to sleep at night. I still have to wake up. I still have to look in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
mirror. And the more I refuse the process, oh gosh, it catches up so hard.
And catches up, and then it builds up, and then it's worse, right? Because then it
Or
happens all at once, or it comes out in a weird way.
yeah,
Um, and so it's why do you think you were like that? What do you think it was? I mean, can I ask? Maybe we're diving a little
yeah,
bit back into your past.
I know absolutely.
Yeah, it's like, so why do you think you were such a person that was very much just kind of like jumping from relationship to relationship and not sitting with yourself? Like, what were you running from?
Oh, just kidding.
Oh yeah.
Um, Also, like one of the biggest things that I have admitted to myself through this
Uh-huh.
process
Yeah.
was I've been reading a lot of books. They're
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. Like we can absolutely talk about the authors that have shaped my
Sure.
life during this.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but the one thing that I have found in common through all of them is therapy.
Mm-hmm. Is
And
therapy, is that what you said?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
we all have all of these like women
Hmm.
inspirational speakers, they all have therapists.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And here's actually a mindset that I had to change about therapy. And this
Hmm.
is something that I talked about with one of my friends recently.
Hmm.
I was like, here's the thing. I stopped viewing therapy as help me, like help like I don't know what to do, to
Yeah.
show me the tools
Yep.
that I can't that I don't know professionally.
Sure.
I remember reading and I just looked up and I was like, here's the thing, I know what I have to do.
Yeah.
But at this point, I need the professional tools.
Yeah.
So it
Hmm.
wasn't like, oh my gosh, like I'm just so desperate. I was like, no, I'm actually
Right.
curious. Like
Yeah.
I want to know. I want to like figure this out, and with
Hmm.
somebody, like even more so with somebody that does this every day. So I
Right.
definitely had my shift there. And we kind of I mean, this is something I knew, but it is a perfectionism issue.
Okay.
And even before that, and again getting like a little raw, but I
Hmm.
that's the whole point. Like my family, like we struggled.
Hmm.
Childhood wasn't easy.
Hmm.
And I've also have learned that I'm actually I have more people in that boat with me than not.
Right.
But childhood wasn't easy.
Hmm.
And to me, like the end goal, like my vision of life, unlike mine, was
Yeah.
like perfect family. And
Okay.
I
You're trying to, so
know.
you're trying to
And
create that. Okay.
yes, yes, and like the marriage and the kids, and
Hmm.
that's all I wanted. And
Right.
granted, I do need to just like put in here that my family is, oh my gosh, like they're everything to me.
Hmm.
But it took a journey to get there. It took us a while.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, I
And
mean, what you have is already perfect. You weren't seeing that.
right, right. But on top of that, like my family also had to go on a journey to
Hmm.
get to this quote perfect, right?
You're right.
Um, and I started kind of seeing everything as that was like Val's dream was to always have the perfect partnership and
Right.
all of that. And it was just so
So you'd almost get lost and like do anything to try to keep that and
yeah,
to make that happen,
yeah.
right?
And then you mix that with perfectionism, and you kind of have a small disaster.
A small, but a ton of them, right? I
I was
mean,
trying to be kind with myself.
yeah,
But
yeah. And you would, I mean, did you, I
all
think,
these
I think,
expectations. Now I'm like also thinking about it as we're talking about it, and then
mhm,
you throw in expectations,
yeah.
and oh my gosh, you can turn bitter so fast.
Yeah, and I think that's just kind of age, because
Right?
after a while you just get jaded and thing after thing, and you're just like, oh geez, like here we go again.
Right.
Right now I'm struggling where with like I feel like I don't feel like I judge myself very harshly, right? I'm very much like one foot out the door
Yeah.
because I feel like I'm the next, I'm talking to a couple different people, right? And that's the thing about dating. But I feel like guilty because I'm just like, well, they're all great for different reasons.
Yeah.
So I'm like, do I have like I feel like I'm just like it's too much pressure. Do I have to pick, right? And then like, do I need to maybe end them or end this one because I'm leading them on, right? And it's just like then I end up sabotaging
Oh
and
no.
like
No.
all this stuff, not because like they're not good, but because I feel like I'm a bad person if I'm dating more than one person. But at the end of the day, like that's what being young is about. It's like
Right.
getting to know different people, and then um, taking the pick of the best one, and like but I feel so guilty about it because I feel like
Oh,
maybe
no.
I'm overthinking it, right? So also I don't want to get caught up in like them and choosing the wrong person. I'm just overthinking the process, right? So I'm also in a place where, like, because I'm doing my own thing at the same time, so I don't necessarily need somebody, right?
Yeah.
So it's so complicated, and it get you can get very jaded. You can get very jaded with the idea of just like, okay, here we go again. I'm talking to these different people. It feels very mechanical. I'm asking the same questions. I'm doing all of this. I'm doing all of that. Do I even want this? Right? But they're great, so I can start seeing a future with them. But then, does that mean if I'm seeing my future with this one, but also this one, and then this third one, do I need to cut them out? Is it too early to make that call? Like,
Yeah.
it's just too much.
I think, okay, and like I can't, I mean, because we're obviously on the subject.
Mhm.
I'm personally not there yet, like at all. um, but
Congrats.
one of one of like the lessons I've learned is like two things. Like one, let things be.
Mhm.
And oh, I just talked about this. And seriously, I tear up every time I remind myself and even say it out loud. When I say let things be, I mean let things come in. Let things
Okay.
go. Let things
Like turn over control. Like I'm not in control. If they
it's
fizzle,
so
they fizzle on their
right.
own.
Yeah,
Okay.
and like not even fizzle. I mean, what if you're going in the opposite direction? Let things grow and let things
Right.
love and let things be exciting and let things end and let them break you. And it's I know.
Am I bad? I think it's the guilt of like, I don't want to be like the fuck boy, right? Right. So I don't want to be like, am I a bad person for not knowing and for, exploring multiple things at the same time?
Yeah.
Am I bad for that?
No. Another thing I really just
Sure.
genuinely believe is that everybody's doing the absolute best that they can.
Sure.
Everybody's doing the absolute best that they can.
Right.
And I will say that the fact that you even feel guilty, I mean, that's already like such a, you know what I mean?
No, I
And
know what you mean. I know what you mean, but it's very easy to be like,
oh yeah,
I spiral, right? Because I think
oh yeah,
about
yeah,
every single part. I'm like, now am I just justifying my bad behavior? Am I a narcissist? Am I, and I'm
yeah.
like, so it's just so I think because I'm thinking it so thoroughly, I think I'm okay. But at the same time, I just don't want to hurt anybody because I've been hurt, right? I've been like,
Yeah.
okay, like in that moment of growth and all of this, and I don't want to be a bad person. So I'm overthinking it. So there's that, how, and that's my journey, that's my growth,
Yeah.
right? That's me
Yeah.
sitting with my own feelings and not being able to kind of like get lost in different things,
No, for sure.
just as you, and having to sit with it and be like, okay, but maybe at what point is sitting with it overcomplicating it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, of course. And I think that's because you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
my future. And I
Right.
think we put a timeline on future.
Sure.
I know that sounds weird, but
What do you mean?
I like
Yeah.
I jot a lot of things down. I've also learned that that's really my way of doing things is really typing. Like you should really see my like pages. It's like, but you know, you don't know. Here's the problem: is you don't know. I can't even tell you, even if we were to talk through every detail of one, two, or three, or just one, or gosh, 50. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be able to tell you, and you won't even be able to tell yourself because
No.
you are asking for an answer that is it's like
Right, right. It's like it's impossible to know.
it's impossible. And
Yeah.
I keep thinking, so what can I do?
Hmm.
I can't promise forever. I can't promise future. I can't promise,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and I don't know temporary, and I don't know permanent, and I don't know new. All I know is today.
Right.
And if I even think about it so often, like how many times have we prayed for second chances or to let go,
Mm.
or we forget that those are being answered every single day,
Right.
and that no matter where you're at, there is a destination you're already headed towards. And for
Right.
me, that allowed me to stop overthinking. Because
Yeah.
whether I felt like I messed up again or like I
Mm-hmm.
was finally moving forward, I was like, well, it doesn't matter
Mm-hmm.
because all of this is, I'm still going to end up exactly where I need to. And that goes
Damn.
for just really anything.
Yeah.
I know. And
Yeah.
like your heart rests so sure in that.
Right.
My heart rests so sure in that. Whether I've even thought about, like I just moved. That's another big thing. And so
Mm-hmm.
the other day I first paycheck with legit bills, real life adult bills.
Right.
And I was stressed. I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I'm going to have enough money for this. I don't know if I'm going to have enough money
Right.
for that. And I was like, Val, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Step back. A couple of months ago, you moved back home.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see already the path that you're walking on?
Right.
Do you see how this has already been planned out? You
Right.
really think that the day that rent is due, you're not going to be able to come up with it
Right.
if you've already been led to having to pay rent?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, you already put down a deposit, right? You already put your name on the paper. So you're already on this path, regardless.
Regardless.
And there's something about that you say, that I think what really just completely made me feel better about everything immediately was today, right?
Today.
Like I only exist in today. And I've known this for a long time, but like at somewhere on my path, I think maybe in the last year or so, I
Mhm.
don't know. I think maybe I lost sight of that. I started future tripping, right? And I call it
Oh
future tripping because
gosh.
you're just like,
I think we all did.
what can be, what if, all this stuff, and then you just lose sight of the fact that like, okay, like dude, like you're just existing today. You have no control over it. If you need to have a conversation with somebody about setting expectations, like this is where I'm at, this is where we are today. Let's just take it one day at a time. That's all one day at a time, right? That's all we have. And wherever that grows, great. But like I get it. Yeah, I think is the future tripping is what leads me towards hurting people's feelings. And
Yeah.
eventually potentially lets me think that I have control over people's feelings.
And
And
you
I
have
don't.
so much to give today. And that's
Right.
actually something that I it kind of snapped me out during quarantine. Um, I'm a huge hypochondriac. I was really scared. When we
Mm-hmm.
got at home, I was really scared.
Sure.
Really scared. I had a million thoughts going through my head.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about every single person that I loved. I thought
Right.
about every single person that they loved, and I
Mm-hmm.
got scared.
Yeah.
And ultimately, what did that lead to? A panic attack. And
Mhm.
I picked up the phone,
Yeah.
and that's also one of my biggest advices is when you're struggling with those thoughts, pick up the phone because
Mm.
gosh, you sometimes until you can develop the habits to deal with it yourself, pick up the phone.
Well,
And
it's like asking for help, like a therapist, right? Like there comes a point where you can do it on your own, but you're out of your element at a certain point.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
And I called my aunt
Yeah.
and she oh my gosh, I still remember. And she's from Mexico. I'm from Mexico. And she's like the very brutally honest aunt. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and she's like, what's wrong? And I just told her, I was like, I'm afraid. Like, what if mom gets sick? What if I get sick? Like, what
Right.
if all of this stuff? And she's like, you are taking happiness from today.
Right.
And I was like, what? And she was like, look around, watch the news or don't. But you know how much misery exists right now? How much depression, how much fear? And right now, you're not even in a position to feel it, and yet you are. So
Right.
it's easy as you're picking fear. Why not pick happiness today? Because tomorrow you could get sick.
Mm-hmm.
You worry about that when you get sick.
Right. You have everything today, so don't
Everything.
overthink
And
about it. Yeah.
Oscar, like I know you and I know me, and like
Mm-hmm.
again, like I don't have an answer for tomorrow, but
Right.
today I have love to give and I have care to
Mhm.
give, and I
Mhm.
have, you know, happiness and joy and kindness. And until that gets taken away from me, I will continue to give it.
Right. And that's good. I mean, that's something, I mean, I think that's necessary, right? That's
Yeah.
and then going back to kind of what you had said at the beginning, it's like there's communication and connecting with people and talking,
Oh my gosh,
right?
yeah.
That's a lot of what you want to share. And I think seeing your inspiration page, right? It's one of those things where like I'm proud of you for doing that, because I think this is something that you can shine at, you're good
Yeah.
at, right? We're both in kind of brand building, so we know how to do that sort of stuff. And doing it for yourself and building your own brand and doing your own thing and doing it around based around something, an identity that you are passionate about, right? And not only that you're passionate about, but somebody on the outside may be like, oh, here's another person, right? But like, I know you and I know this is you and this has always been you. Now you're just kind of doing it on social media, right?
Yeah.
And you were already kind of doing that sort of thing on your own personal accounts.
Yeah.
So what what has come of it so far? I mean, what are you trying to do specifically with this page, and how have you been able to help people so far?
I I want to I want somebody to read it
Hmm.
and know they're not alone.
Okay.
And know that I just don't think people talk about this stuff often.
Hmm.
And I know that because how many times have we all asked people, how are you doing? I'm doing good. How are you? And
Hmm.
you're on like autoplay.
Right. Right.
And what if I can be the person that stands up and says, so I'm not.
Right.
And then one person's like, I'm not either. I'm not either.
Right.
Or don't you just hate it when, and I don't you just hate it after a breakup you sit in a closet and cry and you just don't know what to do? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I've
Absolutely.
done that.
Yeah. No, I've done that. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I want, and at first I will say at first I was like, I think this might be like a woman issue. It's a people issue.
No, it's a people issue.
It's a
No.
people issue.
Right. Guys
And
outwardly project it
oh
differently,
yes,
but like we
it's a
no,
people issue.
we feel the same things for
It's
sure.
a if absolutely.
Yeah.
And I I have found like so much of I just like I could cry. I'm and I really will just say on here and every day gosh, I'm just so happy I dreamt up of the person I thought I could be.
Hmm.
And to see me maybe not even halfway there, but I'm getting there.
Hmm.
And I just want people to feel the way I feel after a fall down or
Yeah.
shoot, my plan got messed up or
Hmm.
like you never know. I wanted med school, didn't get it. I wanted to be married by now, I didn't get it.
Hmm.
Thought I'd be starting my own business and now I'm going like there's just so much to learn from
Yeah.
those moments
Right.
if we let it. And I want to help people let it so bad because this feeling
Yeah.
when I look around and even right now and I would have never believed you if you told me that Val at almost 26 years old was going to be living on her own. She was going to be able to spend nights alone watching like
Hmm.
can you I just also want to take a moment to acknowledge how impossible that sounded to me.
Really? Was like a fear?
Like to sit alone in a home that you've built
Did
was
you? Yeah, you kind of almost feel like when I used to feel like, oh, I'm such a loser.
and
Right. Right.
and that was a dream.
Yeah.
I could never do that.
Yeah.
I always just have to be with somebody. I just
Right.
I can't believe that this is me.
Hmm.
And I remind myself, I do remind myself, and it really contributes to the growth. But my favorite thing that has come from this, and I really do see it as, me, I love my little signs, but
Hmm. Hmm.
I
Yeah.
still get messages of people saying thank you. Like I'm the
Yeah.
one to thank.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
I'm the one to thank. When I'm the one that actually feels the support and the outpour of love,
Mm-hmm.
and to hear some people say, I've gone through something similar, I didn't know, or thank you for saying it. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's a superpower. I've always said, my truth can sometimes get me in trouble. My honesty or how much I'm willing to share can get me in trouble.
Sure.
The point where I almost started seeing it as a flaw. And that's another
Mm-hmm.
thing my therapist taught me is perfectionism, too much truth, too much honesty.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, they're not flaws.
Sure.
We're not here to fix them.
No.
We can't because they've been gifts from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what we'll work on. That's what
Right.
we'll work on is having you see them as gifts so you can use them to change the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's all perspective, right?
You know?
And it's all perspective and how you view it. Um, because I'm no different from 30 minutes ago. I'm still the same person physically, emotionally, but after this conversation, my complete perspective has just changed, right? And that's the idea, right? The idea is that like I'm still in the same situation life-wise. I
Yes.
still have the same things going on the rest of this day and tomorrow. My plans haven't changed, but how I approach it all has shifted. And being able to help that people just kind of like just get that little shift,
Mhm.
right? It just opens you up to just like it's such a relief. You
Oh,
don't realize it until it's been lifted off, like the burden's been lifted off of you, right? All of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I feel a little lighter. Now I can have fun. I can have fun. So that's
yeah.
something big and that's something important. And not everyone has the tools or the ability to do that. You know, and you
I'll
can.
cry right now.
Well, I mean, please, this is great TV. No, it's just one of those things. It's a thing that you have to be able to channel and to be able to kind of develop and be able to kind
Oh
of
yeah.
do for people, and it's a beautiful thing. That's not something people should take lightly, to be able to kind of connect with somebody or
Yeah.
hear somebody or get guided by somebody, because one of my favorite sayings, you hear the opposite, which is life is short, right?
Yes.
So I like saying life is long and arduous, right? It's just long and heavy. Why am I going to spend this long life being miserable and looking at the negative, or like looking at life,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm in it no matter what. And what's going to happen, I can do the next right thing, but at the end of the day, like certain things are out of my control. So
Yeah.
all I can do is just live with myself and make sure that I did the next right thing today, right? Because there's so much that's going to happen. Something's going to happen to me when I'm 60, when I'm 8, whenever, that
Yes.
I
Yeah.
don't know, and it's going to happen no matter what, right?
Yeah. And just even,
Yeah.
let's get rid of the idea that a happy life means happy days every single day
Mm-hmm.
because it's not. I mean, like literally,
Yeah.
I sat right here last night and I cried for a really long time
Sure.
and about like multiple things.
Sure.
And I wrote it down
Mm-hmm.
and but here but to know here's the thing and this is the way I've seen it is even last night crying, I was like, something's coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Something's coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm so excited still, even
Yeah.
in this place. And that comes from a place of gratitude. And I know, but taking practice into that and little things end up being big things. And
Mm-hmm.
I jot down like 5 things that I'm grateful for every morning and every night. On my walks, I'll even like look at the sky and I'm like, I'm grateful for the color blue today.
Mm-hmm.
But you start viewing, problems or
Right.
shifts in paths or
Right.
heartbreak or disappointment or rejection, any
Mm-hmm.
of that for in a beautiful way.
right. It's like you make a gratitude list, right?
Oh yeah.
And it's being
Yeah.
like, instead of being like, okay, so example, right? Practice for all of you who are listening. Case in point is that I'm concerned about like, am I being a bad person? Am I doing all this? I should be grateful for the fact that like I'm having so many great connections with people.
Wow. Oscar. Yes.
Right. And I'm grateful for the fact that like I'm getting to know these women in really neat ways.
Yes.
And I, I could be like, I could be focused on like the negative, but I could also be like, wow, like this is happening right now,
Yes.
and I
Oh
have
my,
options,
that's it.
right? And I'm doing the best I can today, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Right. So like, that's it. That's it. It's like,
That's it. And even
how much do
better,
I owe you
guess
for this
what?
session? How much do I owe?
And even better, guess what?
What's up?
Guess what? I'll
What?
even just drop the little cherry at the top.
Yeah.
Look at how simple that was.
Yeah. Right.
It's
Right.
not overcomplicated.
And it comes with connection, right? Like it
Oh
comes with talking to you, right?
yeah.
It's simple. It's something simple, reaching out, even though it was pretty much to promote you, but here I am benefiting so much, right? From the conversation with you and that connection and just talking it out, right?
Yeah.
Being vulnerable and being honest about like, this is where I'm
The
at,
key, the key
right?
to life is vulnerability.
Right. Right. Being vulnerable and being like, because you can't, I'm going to go nuts overthinking it, but I need that fresh perspective, right? And getting it out um, is the best thing to do, right? Like Shrek says, better out than in.
Yeah. And
He's talking about his burps, but
oh my
this
gosh,
is,
I know.
it's on par.
And this is like something that I told, gosh, like just such a dear friend. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, I don't know, I don't know. I don't know,
Right.
but here's to temporary, and here's to permanent, and
Mm-hmm.
here's to the new and the present. I did not say future because I don't know that.
Yeah.
And here's to what we make every single second of it.
Right.
Because at that point, you start to see things that come to an end as like a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And you almost kind of feel like there was no ending, just a different time,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
That was then and this is now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that, back to I would, and I also even hate to have like these two examples, but pain is pain. I also have to remind myself of that.
Mm.
When it came to living at home, and again, like feeling a little bit of shame,
Right.
but I got to almost like redo high school. And I was not this wise in high school. And I was, you know,
Yeah.
and the fights with mom happened,
Yeah.
and to see it as a chance to help with dinner.
Mm.
I
Mm-hmm.
have a brother who's 10 years younger than me. Imagine how much we have in common,
Mm-hmm.
but having the option to find things in common
Mm-hmm.
in this battle, it's a thank you.
Yeah.
It's a thank you instead of a look at what's happening.
Right.
Why it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have your why right in front of you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even my heartbreak, I can't thank that person enough.
Yeah. Right.
I can't thank that person enough,
Mm-hmm.
because to find yourself where I'm at was worth everything we went through.
You're free.
And oh
Yeah.
my gosh,
Yeah.
that word.
All
You're
right.
free.
We're gonna have to wrap it up. But what's your Instagram handle? And
Ooh,
so people can follow.
yeah, it's at Val's inspo page.
Okay, awesome. Pretty simple, straightforward. I'll tag
Oh
it
yeah.
everywhere.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I'm gonna hit pause here, but thank you so much
Yeah, no,
um,
thank you.
for coming on. You guys, thank you so much for listening. It's, it's always great. Hopefully you guys got a lot from Val. Go follow her, and hopefully you also get to grow from experiencing life with her as a friend.
Yeah, here we are.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.